Hello. Good afternoon. Hello, everyone who is slowly joining us. This is Katerina from Circle Economy Club. As you might know, today we are doing a day dedicated to fashion and looking at different subjects. We have covered the designer perspective, looked at materials, and right now I have a very exciting new guest to join us around renting clothes and sharing clothes and wardrobes. So without any ado, I would love to bring Victoria in, who will tell us more about her amazing business called Hurr Collective. Let me just bring her in. Just waiting for the connection, hopefully. We don't have any more. Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Victoria.
Hi,
How are you?
How are you? I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. The sun is shining through the window, so I'm feeling much better already.
I know. Who would have thought it? It's
I
looking
know.
very nice outside.
It's always a extra bonus for London, especially.
Exactly.
Thank you for joining us. So
No,
lovely
it's a
to see
pleasure.
you.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure too. As I was saying throughout the day already, that we love supporting and showcasing businesses that are embracing circular economy. And there are so many different, obviously, of the businesses around and within fashion. So we would love to hear more about your business. So I would love to start at the beginning, literally. So first of all, can you just describe to us what Hurr Collective is in terms of the business and what you stand for?
Of course. So we are trying to build the Airbnb for fashion. So we're big believers that the future of fashion needs to be more sustainable. And we are a peer-to-peer rental platform that allows, on one hand, women to actually monetize their own wardrobes. And we have users all across the UK now who are actually making thousands of pounds every month renting out their own clothes. And then on the other side of our peer-to-peer platform, we have women who are renting amazing kind of contemporary and designer pieces for a fraction of the retail price, knowing that they want to rent that item for 4 days or 8 days. We're a tech-first business. We've been up and running for just over 3 years now. And our mission is to slow down fashion. And there are lots of clothes already in the world, as we all know, and we're trying to put those clothes that already exist into better use.
Brilliant. Fans of this, of course. A number one thing that a lot of people ask us and ask me as a fashion consultant, that say, you know, what can we do? How can we be more sustainable? Well, let's use what we have in our wardrobes.
Exactly.
So it makes perfect sense. We all have clothes that we don't wear all the time, and we can actually make money off it and rotate it. So it makes perfect sense. So my question to you, the next one is, what brought you to this? What made you start this business? What was the trigger point? Yeah, we'd love to hear more of that on the background of this.
So I'm a millennial myself. I used to buy lots of clothes and have, you know, something new for every event. And I'm of a generation of people that rent clothes, they rent houses, they rent cars, and I thought, why not their wardrobes? The rental revolution isn't new. It's been going in the States for a very long time. There's a big company called Rent the Runway, who are the kind of market leader out there. And we wanted to be part of that revolution, but to provide something fundamentally different. Hence why we are A, a tech-first business, and B, the kind of peer-to-peer element gives us a massive point of differentiation, which means that we don't have to buy stock and we can actually utilize the things already in people's wardrobes. So that's a kind of key difference.
Okay. And because I read that you were doing a completely different job before starting your own tech company with your co-partners. So was it that just the frustration that seeing all these amazing clothes that you have in your wardrobe and talking to your friends that kind of made you be entrepreneur yourself?
Yeah, exactly. So when I was an undergrad, a number of years now, I actually ran a very kind of small scale tech product and tech company for a year. It ended up doing really well, and I knew that ultimately I always wanted to own and manage my own company and run it. But I went down a more corporate career, training as a real estate agent for 3.5 years and doing a master's in that before handing in my notice pretty properly and co-founding Hurr. I think there's never been a more exciting time to be a female entrepreneur and to be in the tech space. And I just spotted a huge gap in the market, you know, three and a bit years ago, and knew that then was the time to really start focusing on it and taking that leap of faith and plunging into the world of entrepreneurship.
Amazing. I think that's always great to hear, because we have these stories where people are not sure, they are told no, or it's too scary. But if you
Yeah.
just do it because you believe in it, that's very inspiring. So
Yeah, of
thank
course,
you.
and I think everyone's always going to have their opinions on whether your idea is the right idea. There are lots of businesses that start up all day, every day, and you want to make sure that you've got a business. So we really made sure before we launched anything to the public that it was going to have as much of a chance of being successful as it possibly could do.
Brilliant. I do actually remember you being at the Drapers Sustainability Summit a couple of years ago as one of the startups pitching to the panel.
Yeah.
So I picked up on the name that time. So that was exciting to see the progress now. So how did you, okay, so the idea is great, makes complete sense. Now we're talking, did you say 3 years ago? Roughly?
Yeah, just over, yeah.
So how do you get people on board?
It's a great question. So whilst we were still busy building our platform, my co-founder and I spent the best part of a year building it in a basement in Shoreditch together. And whilst we were still building it, we were trying to generate as much hype as we possibly could do before the product was even finished. So that the moment that it was in and it worked and we tested it, we already had that customer base that we knew were really engaged and had kind of been monitoring what we were launching. So that would definitely be my top tip to someone who's starting out, actually trying to build hype around something before it launches, because it meant that the moment that actually the product worked and we actually launched, we had, I think we built a waiting list of 10,000 people in a couple of months who'd signed up just on a kind of this is coming soon. And it meant that obviously the moment we actually clicked go and launched the platform, we already had those couple of thousand users who were testing it before obviously we then started massively scaling our databases and our user base numbers from there. So that worked really, really well for us. We've been incredibly fortunate to have huge press around what we're doing. I think it's finally sustainability is on the front page of every newspaper, and fast fashion's really under the spotlight. Everyone is looking for a smarter way to shop, and we're fortunately being on the kind of solution side from that and being able to provide a solution, whether it's a peer-to-peer person or now a brand, and we're working with a lot more brands directly now. So it's a really exciting time, and I put a lot of our early stage success down to having a great product, which is always our focus, but also the massive PR, influencer and celebrity support we've had as well, which has been really, really game changing for us.
Brilliant. So it really shows that it needs that kind of rallying around on social media to use it for the better good in terms of talking about what you want to do and get people excited and interested, because I mean, I remember going back 10 years ago or so, it wasn't cool, or the idea of renting clothes or even secondhand shops. And I mean, I grew up in communism, and Airbnb was kind of what we were doing without calling it, and on some kind of holidays. But now it's finally cool, and even the renting thing. But I still feel that there are people who are not convinced, or they don't know what to think of that. What would you say to those people?
For sure, you completely hit the nail on the head in terms of renting for us has to be aspirational. It has to be something that people are excited to be part of and see huge benefit from. We don't want renting to be a kind of dirty kept secret. It is something that people are incredibly smug about and talk very openly about, because if you've rented a dress for £40 and costs 400, you're the smartest person at that wedding or at that event, say. So our biggest kind of hurdle and challenge today as a kind of changing behavior company is getting people over that first transaction. We know the moment we can get them renting once, statistically they'll come back and rent much more. It's that first initial, I've never rented something before. Exactly like you say, what happens if something gets damaged? What about the dry cleaning? What about the postage? What about the fit? Things that we've spent years and years and years working on and kind of debunking the myths around. The moment we can do that, we know that person's going to get hooked on renting and really see the value. The reason that we have physical bricks and mortar pop-ups, so we're partnering with Selfridges, and we have a pop-up ongoing in their Oxford Street branch at the moment, and then a temporary pop-up up in Manchester Exchange. And it just gives people a chance to actually experience renting and see how easy and fun and frictionless it is. And it's just been really, really key part of our strategy to kind of handhold that person and get them kind of to buy into the Hurr journey.
Amazing. I mean, also, I think a lot to do is with how you present it and how you offer the kind of visual experience for the potential users, especially the new ones. because we are visual creatures, and it's gorgeous to see beautiful editorials to inspire people. So you must be working with a lot of stylists and photographers, right, to create a lot of content. Am I right?
Yeah,
I'm just curious,
yeah.
what happens behind the scenes?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do work with a number of stylists, high profile stylists, in-house stylists. But for us, a lot of our content is user generated. We find that, you know, if you're more likely to rent a dress if you've seen someone either that you follow or you admire, or someone that looks and feels like you in that dress. So it's a bit of a mix. You're completely right. It needs to be a balance between elevated versus real life. And I really hope that we're seen as kind of a real life platform for real women, because that is obviously the majority of women that use our platform. Not everyone can be a celebrity. So I'd really hope that the message we've got is that renting is accessible and it's something that anyone and everyone can do. We want to be inclusive, and we built Hurr to scale all across the UK and have a platform that anyone and everyone can use.
Amazing. And do you sort of vet the potential users or renters, or do you have preferences for brands that you want your platform to propose to users? How do you see that? Because obviously it's a really interesting space. You know, on one hand, we predominantly would like to rotate clothes and, you know, keep them in use.
Yeah.
But there is a certain standards of quality or style for different brands or platforms. So could you tell us a bit about that? How do you?
Yeah, of course. So we're absolutely a managed marketplace. We aren't hands-off because we want things to be field curated and to really elevate that experience. In terms of the kind of who we let on our site, anyone and everyone can use our Hurr service. But before you're able to rent, you have to pass our 60-second ID verification process. Obviously, we are a sharing economy business, so trust is the beating heart of our platform. Without users trusting each other, we don't have a business and a platform. So it's the most important part of every part of our business, making sure that we trust the people on our platform. And then to your second point about the pieces we take, you can list any item on the Hurr platform over £120 RRP, so £120 resale value. So you can't list a fast fashion dress, but you can list anything in the kind of 100 upwards space. So I'd definitely say our platform is geared to the nicer pieces that are built to last. We don't want pieces that have been built to fail, and we play heavily in that kind of contemporary and mid-luxury space too.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense because that's the accessible and wearable stuff on sort of a daily basis, which makes complete sense. And do you see the numbers going up constantly, that there is more and more interest, even despite the current world pandemic and all of this, what's happening in the world? Do you see the numbers going up and people showing more interest?
Yeah, of course. I mean, with the spotlight, particularly on sustainability, we've seen record numbers of pieces being listed on the platform throughout the last couple of months, and engagement just skyrocket throughout the platform generally. I think we've spent the last 5 or 6 months looking at our houses and at our wardrobes and in our bedrooms at all the stuff that we have, and it is stuff. I personally hate stuff, and I'm pretty sure that most people who are either watching this or will watch this IGTV have looked over the last couple of months and thought, why did I ever buy all this stuff? So yeah, we've seen record numbers in terms of people actually thinking, okay, I own 10 dresses, let me start making money from the 9 that I don't wear enough. So it's a massive part of our business, and the message we're trying to get across is list your Hurr wardrobe. There are certain brands that do extremely well on our platform that are kind of contemporary or independent or upcoming. So we really try and steer people over on our Instagram about what's trending and where you can actually make money as well.
Amazing. It actually makes total sense. We are in a situation that everybody can benefit from their own wardrobe. So why not? It's a win-win situation, really. Brilliant. And the other part of the business that you mentioned already, and we know that the rental, it's mostly about logistics and tech, of course, behind that. And the question of dry cleaning and any other aspect that you do as a company, how sustainable or how ethical or green or whatever the kind of terms you want to use is. Have you got something in place, or do you recommend your users to use a certain dry cleaning, for example? Because that seems to be an issue with some of these platforms, because then it becomes just a dry cleaning, a monster of a machinery kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, no,
can you talk a bit about?
it's a great question. So there are three kind of main areas when you're talking about sustainability and rental. Obviously, there's no point having a rented dress unless you've thought about all areas of that journey. So you're right to mention packaging. Packaging, we have an amazing partnership with a company called Repack. Just seeing if there's one in my office around me. And
We know
these
them.
packages can go up to 35 times back and forth in the post. So we want to try and cut out any plastic throughout that process. Delivery, the vast majority of our items, peer-to-peer or managed, do go through the normal delivery services kind of all across the UK. Some people do choose kind of pre-COVID to meet up and transact, but obviously in a post-pandemic world, a lot of our rentals are going through direct mail. And then thirdly, and most importantly, dry cleaning, you're absolutely right. We've tried to find a clever dry cleaning solution for 3 years because sustainable dry cleaning normally comes at a much higher price point. And actually, even this morning, we announced a big partnership with a dry cleaning company called Oxwash, who we're going to be working with directly, and they are the market leaders across the UK in the technology that they use to drive dry cleaning. So they use something called ozone technology, and they are the most incredible A, tech company, but B, startup I've ever met. So we've got a lot of really, really super exciting partnerships we're going to be launching with them in the coming weeks. Because you're completely right. I personally think that the consumer doesn't yet know much about dry cleaning and how damaging it is to the environment. And it's a bit of a pain point, who's got time to go and queue up in a high street dry cleaners in 2020. So we're hoping, and we're working on something very, very clever behind the scenes that we're going to be announcing in the next couple of days and weeks.
Very exciting. And that leads me to also to find out more about your partnership with Selfridges. I mean, how exciting is that? I mean, we know that Selfridges is a leading a company or retail company that is really questioning sustainability for years and years and years, and not many people actually know this, which is so good to see that they are taking the chances and taking it further. So there's been a lot of initiatives that launched, especially this year. So good to see this kind of almost an oxymoron in years before, that how can we do rent and sale at the same place, and it's happening finally. I mean, there was I think Vestia was doing a pop-up last year or so, but this is so exciting to hear and see. So how does this work, and how did it come about? I mean, they just said yes, you approached them. It's very exciting, because that, for me, I just love to know this or share it with people, because it's very encouraging for others to feel like, just do it, go and knock on the doors and bring your ideas to the big people.
Of course. So we launched our pop-up in Selfridges in February this year, and for me, they're the most forward-thinking department store that I wanted to work with. They've always championed sustainability, like you said, and then last month they launched their big Project Earth campaign, which for me is the biggest shift any department store or e-commerce platform has ever made in terms of their commitments to sustainability, of which renting is part of that. You're completely right, the resale is a big part of that. They've done a Depot pop-up, they have Vestia Collective, who are now permanent in store, and for me, they're the forward-thinking department store who's always looking for the latest innovation. So obviously pitching the idea, I think it was a really exciting chance to do something for the first time and to test it and to provide the Selfridges customer, both online and in store, the opportunity to try it. It's really, really exciting. So obviously we had to shut it over lockdown, and we've now been back up and running for a couple of months now. And it's working incredibly well in store. And then a couple of weeks ago, we launched their Selfridges own rental collection. It's just a massive shift in terms of, at scale, how the fashion industry is going to operate going forward. Consumers are waking up, I think, to the pieces that they want to purchase and love and own forever, and the pieces that they just want access to for a couple of days or weeks or months. So it's really, really exciting. Obviously, our partnership with Selfridges is a huge win for us. It's something we are incredibly proud about. And there's a lot more to come. And do come and check out the pop-up in the Selfridges Oxford Street branch if you have the chance.
Absolutely. We'll definitely mention it again. And it's again, I think that really helps as well to promote it, to see the physical side of things,
For sure,
to
yeah.
introduce people who might not be on Instagram sometimes, that kind of
Exactly.
demographic, and just to show that it is very easy, and it's a better option than sometimes, or most of the time, than buying. So very exciting to see this progress that these new startups like yourself are doing, and especially these partnerships. I think that's super crucial. So I hope it's going to continue, and you're going to become permanent in some ways. And then how do you see this kind of like, what's your vision for Her Collective and this kind of subject for fashion? What would you like to see? What would you like to achieve? What's the kind of dream, I suppose?
So I guess our number one mission is making renting an everyday occurrence, getting people to rent for the first time, and also provide a UK-wide solution. We want renting to be mainstream. We don't want a few people that really care about sustainability talking about this. We want everyone and anyone to think about Her and to use Her as an alternative to purchasing one-off fast fashion outfits. Our kind of overarching mission is to stop getting people buying that kind of insatiable desire to have something new for every event, for every occasion. There are just smarter ways to shop. Vestiaire and Depop do a great job on the resale space, and hopefully we're doing a good job on the rental space. We want that behaviour to start evolving, and it can't happen quick enough. It needs to happen now, because consumers are waking up, and everyone needs to be smarter about the way that they consume fashion. So let's make renting an everyday occurrence, and try and cut out those wear it once outfits.
Amen to that. And speaking of all the consumers that we want to sort of recruit and change the mindset, as you said, that's so important, and that's such a role that we can play in all of this. Do men use it? Do you have menswear section?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. We've seen since we launched our Selfridges rental collection, a few more men using our platform. We've had a lot of demand for menswear rental, as well as lots of other verticals that are associated with rental. I think that comes when you have incredible press that we've been able to have. So yeah, menswear is something we're looking at pretty closely, because there seems to be a lot of demand, I think particularly for the kind of tuxes and streetwear. So it's something we're looking at very, very, very closely at the moment.
Brilliant, yeah. I mean, this is the funny thing about some of these items or garments specifically, that, for example, wedding tuxedos and wedding suits, it's something that it's been a norm to rent, but not the wedding dresses. And then, but men also scared to rent anything else. So it's just, we have to find the change, that it's normal to do this, or this is okay to rent this.
For sure.
There's an interesting question that are there any items of clothing that you find rent most? I suppose the most popular items, what would that be?
Yeah, really interesting. So in terms of kind of top brands that rent well on Her, we see a lot of demand for brands that are inherently sustainable as well as being rented, and having a double win between a Mara Hoffman or a Ganni, or brands that do really care and champion sustainability. And then in terms of the kind of items that rent best, dresses are definitely our bread and butter in terms of what people, I think, associate with Her. Second to that is kind of statement accessories. So I'd say if you scroll through the Her platform, you'll probably find the more kind of out there patterns, colors, shape, styles, because people are investing in their kind of basic capsule wardrobe and renting the rest. So I definitely say if that person is, I've seen the question too, listing items on Her, to go for the more wacky, fun pieces that people want access to but might not want to own, and to focus on contemporary brands too.
And I mean, that's the thing, that's the fun part of it as well, that to try out an experiment,
Exactly.
kind of going for something that you wouldn't buy because it's too scary, or, not knowing if you want to keep it and wear it for years, but it can have this fun, for a couple of days or a week to add to your wardrobe, and exactly to, I suppose, to feed that need to have something new, but in a smarter way, as you said beautifully before. So who is using this rental platform predominantly? Who would you say are the people, either demographic, age group, anything that you can tell us, just kind of like figure it out, that who are the pioneering rental users?
Of course. So the number one reason, kind of pre-launch, when we launched Hurr a number of years ago now, number one reason people signed up for our service was sustainability. So our users really care about trying to find a better and cleverer and smarter way to consume fashion. So I definitely say that people who use our platform really care about conscious consumption. And our user base more generally is definitely millennial. The number of users on our platform, they're familiar with lots of sharing economy businesses and sharing platforms. They've used Zipcar, they've used Uber, they've used Airbnb. These are people that are very tech savvy, and I'd say that they're also very familiar with resale platforms. So the Hurr girl is on Depop. She's making money through that. She's reselling her wardrobe as well as renting certain pieces as well. And I think that in every girl's wardrobe, there's a percentage of stuff that you'll always want to keep, a percentage that is perfect for resale and a percentage that's perfect for renting. But our user base more generally is definitely the millennial that's looking for a smarter and more conscious way to shop.
It sounds so good to hear that there's so much more consciousness around these topics, and that it's driven by these people. So because we talk about it, but it's so nice to hear that from practice, because you have the data. So it's nice to share that. Thank you. And there's another question. How are you coping with COVID contamination between users?
Of course, good, great question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's something obviously that's changing by the day, but during lockdown, when COVID was at its most severe, we implemented a number of changes throughout our business. It's always been a requirement that every dress that is sent out peer-to-peer has to be professionally dry cleaned before it's sent out on rental, so that we know that every item that's received is dry cleaned and is hygienic. In terms of lockdown, we introduced contactless free deliveries and tried to get people using a courier service or a delivery service that was contact free. But over this period, I definitely say that my main job and my team's main job is just actually being really clear in your communications. And people still rented throughout lockdown, and people are still renting kind of more than ever over the last couple of months. The items they're obviously renting are very different. They're not renting fun party dresses. They're renting for kind of what we call elevated everyday events, the kind of mini moments of a date night, a dinner party, a 30th birthday, a kind of small registry office wedding. So the items have definitely shifted, and my job is making sure that those processes behind the peer-to-peer side of our platform are done correctly, and that we're being as clear as possible. And then in terms of store, we follow the kind of government guidelines and Selfridges guidelines. So every item that's tried on in Selfridges is then quarantined for 48 hours after that. So we're following exactly the same rules that any other traditional store would have around trial.
Amazing. It's always possible to find a way if there is an interest. And yeah, I mean, we all still have to wear clothes. I heard this funny statistic that especially during the quarantine, there were a lot of tops that we're selling because we need to be on Zoom, and just this top part is relevant. Top part. So I imagine that you're renting also more tops than anything else.
For sure.
And can I ask you a more of a, I suppose, business question? Because we're trying to cover obviously the information for the users, but also I have to say I'm also a lecturer, and I come across a lot of exciting new minds in terms of fashion business. And they love the idea of developing their own platforms and their startups. How difficult would you say it is? And is it something that you would still recommend to do, to start your own business in terms of solving an issue within fashion, focusing on sustainability, if it's a rental or something else? I guess it's never easy when you do it, and there are a lot of hurdles, but would you say that it's still worth it with all the hard work that goes behind that?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, of course, it's worth it. Doesn't mean it's easy, and I'd be lying to say it was easy. The Hurr platform is still not finished. It will never be finished. Having spent a year of my life building it and sat in the basement, working out how things are going to look and feel, I still stay incredibly close to the product, and I care deeply about the UX and the UI and how things look and feel and how frictionless it is. Can we get a dress listed in 90 seconds? Can we get that down to 60 seconds? Can we get our checkout process from 2 minutes down to 60 seconds? I really care about the tech side of our business. That's where I spend my day to day. I think the mission and the kind of functionality of our platform is incredibly advanced, and we sometimes I think, gosh, we've taken on a big project. I wish I was a traditional e-com business where we could be built on Shopify. But obviously for us, owning our own intellectual property, having a tech platform that we can change and we can iterate and we can, load a different version up in a matter of weeks or months is the most crucial part of our business. And that's why I think we're able to respond so quickly to customer demand or to something going wrong and needing to change something and rush that change through. A lot of our investment goes into our tech, and we have an amazing in-house team working on that all day, every day. So I think to anyone who's considering it, know what you're getting yourself in for before you launch anything. And then I also think, particularly if you're a female and stereotypically we love things to be perfect, if you are going to launch your own product, it is just never going to be perfect. I'm still horrified about certain parts of our website, and if I had more than 24 hours in each day, I would make millions of changes. But you have to be happy when you're starting something and scaling and iterating with that 80%. And I say to my team all day, every day, 80% is good enough when you're trying to cover off as much as we do. And I think, as long as you know what you're getting yourself in for and you try and get rid of that imposter syndrome and feeling of perfection, which is just impossible to chase, absolutely, it will be the best thing you ever do, but it's not an easy journey to get there.
No, I can imagine, but also your business specifically, it's about this community and actually, proposing an alternative, not a product, which is so much more rewarding in so many ways because you see that working and, that function that you're providing. So I think we can be hard on ourselves, but just having this platform and community, I think that's just so beautiful, which it doesn't happen, the change doesn't happen without collaboration and community. So Thank you so much for sharing all of this. We're going to encourage everybody to look at her and sign up, hopefully. And I just hope that things will go even bigger and further, so we can capture most of the consumers in UK and hopefully beyond as well, but leading by example. So thank you so much for sharing all of this. It's been very interesting and insightful, and we'll see you on her platform, I guess.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
Thank you. Take care. Bye. Bye-bye.